What's up, everybody? It's Chad. We're back again this week with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. I have a new guest with me this week. This week I have Leah, and this is going to be kind of a different episode that we usually do. We're going to be talking more about patients and stuff. It's something I do love talking about. I've been a patient in New Mexico since 2013 myself and do everything I can to try to help patients. And that's going to be a similar situation in conversation we're going to have today, but second star. So from my understanding is you guys are helping people out with RSO. You care to, expand on that?
Getting RSO was next to impossible, and it's $40 in the retail store for 1 gram, and you're supposed to take a whole gram of this by yourself. Like, how are people affording it? They're not.
Yeah.
They're not doing it, and they're not. People just aren't going to go and spend $45 on an eighth and then pour alcohol on it and then do it right.
Yeah.
So how do we fill this need? So then I realized, like, there's a whole bunch of products and things that people have, different grows and stuff, because I do manufacturing. I talk to people. We end up having a lot of what people would consider waste material, but it's not waste material. It's not really valuable in a lot of people's eyes. And we can take it and turn it into medicine and give it back to the community. But let's do it for free.
Yeah.
Let's do it to where people don't have to pay for it. They don't have to worry about where that money is coming from. So that way they could buy food or the special mouthwash or the cab ride it takes to get home or something. Cancer is really expensive. Being sick is really expensive. And so, a lot of cannabis people, especially like a lot of people that I know, they got into cannabis because they love the plant and to helping people and how it's helped themselves. And so not only am I able to take some of the stuff and get it, I've gotten big places to agree to take my material and turn it into RSO, and they're doing it as a donation. I have big companies that have donated RSO to me already. So I have about 600 grams that I'm about to make our first batch with, and everything is coming together, and we're just going to give it away and hope that it helps.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for that. Like I said, guys, we're going to be talking about patients today, and this is patient-centric kind of conversations. You guys know New Mexico, we had a medical program back in the 70s. The governor at the time, his son is going through cancer. So this is one of the things that really helped people in New Mexico for a very long time. Also, for those of you who don't know what RSO is, it's also known as FECO, or full extraction cannabis oil. RSO stands for Rick Simpson oil, one of the guys who coined the process of making this type of oil. A lot of the times they use Everclear or high, concentrated alcohol to do the extraction and everything. And it is kind of a daunting process. You have the alcohol, then you have to, boil it off essentially, and strain things, and then you end up with your final product essentially in the end. I'm cutting corners here and giving you guys the very short version, but that's essentially the way that you make it. And it does take some time. And so I'm thank you so much for, you guys taking that time to do that for the people who need it, because it is expensive. Even if you find it for $20 a gram, that's still a lot, because there's cancer patients that try to use about a gram a day. And that adds up very, very quickly.
You can get up to that.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. You end up having to, and then you develop a tolerance. And so you just go higher, and then there's no more access, or you run out of money, and then it comes back down. And so it becomes a very vicious cycle. And, I think once we have more access, then hopefully we can have more education. And with education, we can hopefully have more research, and make things that are, more usable and feasible, tangible.
Yeah. And more patient-centric, don't get me wrong, pre-rolls are great, but not every pre-roll is made the same. And it's definitely not every pre-roll is medical grade for certain patients and what they need. So having a
Yeah.
product that is more medical grade is better for everybody, especially at the price of free 99, and
Exactly. So
yeah.
this is not something that we're even going to be, if you're not medical and you don't qualify, like you have to submit, you go to the website,
Mhm.
you fill out all these forms, you have questions, and then we reach out to you and you have to be approved. And
Yeah.
so it's something that like isn't always, um, you know, I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
Well, there's qualifications that you have to
Yeah.
reach, of course. Yeah, and I understand why you guys are doing that too. And if those of you who don't, there's people out there who game the system no matter what it is. And so
Hmm.
to ensure that we are providing cannabis to actual people who need it, there is going to be a process. So thank you for sharing that with me, because I was going to ask you what's the process of going about getting this. So the people will contact you guys through your website. Is that
Yes,
the first
they
step?
go
Okay.
to the website, and then there's going to be two different vendor forms. So you can go to the donation form, and that is if you want to be somebody who wants to donate or send a contribution towards the thing. We do accept contributions, and then there's also if you are a patient and you would like to receive this, then you fill out a questionnaire, and then someone from Second Star will reach out to you and arrange for you to have a tincture. We're doing tinctures,
Mhm.
and they'll be delivered to the closest participating dispensary to that patient, and it'll either be delivered by Stoner Haven, which is a local New Mexico delivery company,
Had them
or
on a few months ago.
through other means. But we will get it to as we can get it to them at no cost.
Awesome. That's great. And Stoner Haven's a great company. I had them on a couple months ago, and the fact that they're involved, I'm like, oh, great. I'm sure they were all about it too. They're
Oh
great
yeah.
people over there. I'd love to talk to them. They're doing a great service in the state, especially when it comes to delivery. And one good thing about us having legal cannabis now in New Mexico is we were very monopolized during the medical days. So something like this would have been a lot harder to do and accomplish than these days, where we have more, where you can pretty much get to any patient that you need in the state. Because of
Exactly.
that. And I love that. And I love the fact that we've taken this, instead of people complaining there's too many dispensaries. Well, you know what? That's good for the patients, because now they can
Hmm.
get more products that they need because of that. Like, I'm from Alamogordo originally. That's where I was born and raised. So at the time when I moved back from Hawaii and I got my card, there were no dispensaries in Alamogordo. I could only go to Rio Doso or Las Cruces, and they had pretty much one each at that time. So I was limited. Now I go there, they have all kinds of options, and it's great to
Hmm.
see. Even in Rio Doso, there's more options for people now. Cloudcroft has some stuff, and Cloudcroft has 5,000 people, or probably less than that. I'm probably being too generous, to be honest. But it's great to see that, and so thank you so much for just bringing this out to people. And this does need to get out there, and more people to understand it. So would the person need to have their New Mexico medical cannabis card?
They do,
Okay.
because we are not selling this. This is
Mhm.
not something that we are making money off in any way, shape, or form. This is all donation based. A lot of people, all of our stuff so far has all been, it's all there's been no money exchanged, and
Yeah.
so it's not like if you don't have a medical card, then there's no way for us to legally give it to you,
Yeah, definitely.
because it's also going to be over the legal limit for a rec patient. So there's when you're doing concentrate can only be 1,000 milligrams. This is going to be way over that.
Yeah.
So it's not something that we can even give somebody legally that isn't a medical patient.
And good point there too. And I'm sure some people are probably going to ask or assume, and I wanted to make sure that we get those questions out of the way, so that way it doesn't waste anybody's time, or people don't make
Exactly.
assumptions. And also, I've been pushing for years for people to get their damn card. You don't pay
Yes, do it.
taxes. Yeah, and now you can get free RSO if you need it. So like the benefits just keep stacking, more and more
Yes.
to get your medical cannabis card here in New Mexico. Taxes
Yes.
just went up. Stop paying them. If you're
Yes.
dealing with a debilitating disease, stop paying for your medicine. Get it for free by the people who actually care. And do you care? Do you mind sharing the people that have offered to donate and everything, or do they want to stay anonymous?
Right now, we have gotten RSO donated from Elevated.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten Headspace and Cowboy RX. Stoner Haven is going to be a donator. She's going to do deliveries. Argon Labs is going to do testing for us. I believe we have a lot of participating dispensaries in Asia. And then we have Rolling Love in Las Vegas. And then we have, there was a store in Las Cruces, but they didn't put what store, so I can't give them a shout out. We actually had somebody in Munchies and Alamogordo sign up. So there's a bunch of different places.
Yeah.
But we'll go anywhere. We'll go anywhere.
Yeah. No, and it seems like that.
So you might have to wait till, there's a delivery out that way. It's not going to be like, oh, I'll sign up and then I'm going to, carrier pigeon it to you. We have to be realistic, but we will get it to you. And then once you're on schedule and in the mix, and as long as we still have people donating things and helping us get stuff done, like I even have the girls at Grass Gazette want to come and help us fill bottles. So there's so many ways to get involved, and there's so many ways to give back. And I think it's going to be a great platform for building community and education for cannabis.
Definitely. And that's a good point. This is going to be a community driven thing. And I'll even offer to provide some of my time if I'm ever around, or if you guys need help to get this mission going and done too, because we can go and help the processing of it. We have the Reservoir Dogs got their licensing and their manufacturing license. So, we can go help you guys if you need like that. I'm down to help you guys with this cause, even if it's just sharing information or going over there and helping to make the product. I'm down to help you guys. And I think other businesses should really get in on that too as well, because this is bigger than all of us. And who knows, someone that we love and is dear to our heart might need this.
Exactly.
So this is something that it's not urgent, but it's something that we need to focus on for sure.
Yes. And it's just, it's just, we need more access and we need more education. And if we can provide that, then I think that it's just going to open so many doors for even the medical field and for our kids and our health. Health is humanity. So we just need more education, and we can't get education if people are afraid, and we can't break stigmas if we can't give it and share it. So
definitely. And this is one thing that will really show people that yes, this is still medicinal. It's not just and to be honest, I live on, and I'll die on this hill that every use is medicinal some way. Whether it be relaxing after a long day, rubbing it on your hurt shoulder, or just smoking so that way you can feel less stressed. Most of people use it for medicinal reasons, regardless of having a card or not. And this just makes it even more legit when we start doing programs like this and really doing reach out for patients. One question I wanted to ask, and before I forget, how much can a person or a patient, I guess we should say it this, a patient, how much can a patient expect to get at one time?
Right now we're working on, it's going to be 130, it's a 1 ounce bottle, it's a tincture, and it should be good enough depending on and everybody's tolerance is different. So what we are going to be doing is starting off with 1 tincture. It's going to be a 1-to-1, and I cut, because it's, as anybody who's messed with RSO knows that it's a sticky, icky game. And we're going to solve that problem of dosing and guessing by, watering it down, I guess. And so we're going to do tinctures, and that all depends on the patient. If they're taking it every day, if they're taking, 20 milligrams, or if they're taking 100 milligrams a day, that's not something that we can. It's going to be based on need.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a good way to put it, and a good way to go about it. You don't want to make a bunch and then there's no demand, or not make enough, and there's too much demand. So on demand, more like by order, makes more sense. So that way you guys know how much you need to produce, because it costs money to produce this. It's
It
not free.
does.
Yeah.
I mean, there's testing, there's all sorts
Hmm.
of stuff, that will go into it, but it's
I think it's worth it in the
yeah,
long. Yeah.
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. I think it's more worth all of this than anything, to see somebody either find relief or really treat their symptoms, like we were speaking before. Treating your symptoms is the important part, and of course you can't do much if you don't feel good, and
Exactly.
like,
Exactly. And I think a lot of people, don't realize that a lot of these things are super painful.
yeah,
And um, with pain comes prescription medications, and it comes addiction and overuse and malpractice, and it breaks the system. And so if we can find something else that can help with integrative care and symptom management that isn't going to ruin lives,
yeah,
that would be really cool.
yeah, definitely.
You know?
Because I'm tired of seeing people's lives get destroyed by things that's supposed to be helping them, but it doesn't. And
Hmm.
so it'd be great to see something positive like that for once. So I'm in agreement with you there. So where can people find you guys? Instagram, just the website. Are you guys working on other social media stuff?
No, we are all over. If you go to secondstarnm.org, there is a link to the patient portal where you can just fill out the form. There's also a link to become a donator, and there's a little bio about us. And we do not send you, there's not going to be bottles stocked anywhere. So you
Yeah,
can't just be like, hey, I'll go here, unless you're in Albuquerque, and there's somehow you come and get it. You can pick it up at Cabbyland. We have a brick and mortar here, so that was like, if you wanted to do that, you can, but you would still have to go to the website, get approved, go through the process, and then you'd be able to, either pick it up or we would send it to you.
definitely. Well, thank you for that. And again, guys, this is dependent on people that are donating. So if you're a business and you're watching this, maybe think about donating some of your products, some of your time. Even just sharing information will go a long way.
Mm-hmm.
And just to clarify, that website is the number 2ND, right? Like second that way, or is it?
2ND. Yep.
Okay. 2ND
2ND.
star.org, right?
Secondstarnm.org.
Perfect. Okay. NM. See, I missed that part. Make sure that we get
Yes.
that in there, because I messed it up when I was typing it. I put start the first time. I was like,
Oh, it's okay.
oh, you know
Yeah.
what? Okay, star sounds better.
Yes, it's Second Star, and it's
Yeah.
based off of it's how you get to Neverland, second star to the right and straight on to morning. And it's meant to bring hope and childlike wonder back to our lives when we're dealing with so much down. It's like, let's do something. And
Yeah.
so this is my something.
Awesome. And well, I hope it turns into something big. Like I said, I'll be here to help wherever I can. I hope some of you listening, or all of you listening, will be able to help too. If you are someone who needs this, please visit that website. Get your
Yes.
medical cannabis card ready. If you don't have your medical
Yes.
cannabis card, go get it. You can get it the same day these days. My renewal, I went to the doctor, and later that afternoon, maybe like 2 hours later, they approved it, and I got my renewal.
That's
So
awesome.
sometimes you can get it within the same day. So you, in the morning, you contact them, or you get you do your card stuff. In the afternoon, you can apply for this, and I don't know how long the process takes, but you can at least get all the process done within one day. So it's really not that daunting, y'all. Getting your card in New Mexico really isn't as hard as it used to be. It used to be you needed 2 doctor signatures, and pray to Buddha and whoever else, and hope to God that the government gets your card in time. And back then they used to mail them and everything, and it was a big old mess. So these days it's way less stressful than it used to be. Sometimes they have events where they'll have a doctor there, or a nurse practitioner, and they'll be doing cards all day. So look out for those. Sometimes they're free, sometimes they're cheap, and a lot of these places take insurance. So please, guys, get your card. If you do need it, hit up Second Star, nm.org. Got that right this time. If you guys need your RSO, because some of you need it, and it's not cheap. So I appreciate the companies that are working with you guys to donate all this time, product, whatever. Because this is an important mission, and who knows, maybe other states will take up on this mission too, and we can get a
I hope
national kind of
so.
thing, because this is
That would be
something
great.
for sure, definitely. Well, I thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to talk about or say before we move on to the last topic?
I urge everybody that, when they're going through and they're talking to their doctors, just to remember to ask questions and remember that you do have a voice, and you can say no, and you can ask for second opinions. And, if you have the chance to be a part of a clinical trial, I urge you to do so in the name of science, so that people after you don't have to go through the same things. So,
Yeah,
try to use this horrible thing as a positive.
yeah,
Do as much as you can to help the next person behind you.
yeah. Because cancer isn't going away anytime soon.
No,
And it affects from rich to poor, old to young. Doesn't discriminate.
it
So.
affects the whole family too. It's not just the
Mhm.
person who is going through cancer. It's my husband, it's my daughter, it's my mom, it's my friends, my family, it's my business associates, it's everyone,
Yeah. So
So,
I appreciate that, and thank you. That's a bright light to shine on. Sometimes that people forget that the person with cancer isn't the only one suffering. It's everyone that cares about them and it's involved too. So I appreciate that, and thank you so much for taking on this daunting mission, and also a very important one at the same time. And I'll be here to support wherever I can. Those of you out there watching, if you can support, if you need it,
yes.
hit them up. So thank you so much. And we're going to move on to our final topic today. It's a little bit of a quicker episode today, y'all. We're going to be talking about the DEA stuff. And speaking of medical, we're going to kind of keep it on that topic today. So I'm going to update y'all with the DEA hearing and stuff. So this won't take too long. I'm sure you've been, in the know and, kind of seeing everything that's been going on with the DEA hearings over in Virginia. So last time I left you guys, it was before the 4th of July, and they hadn't had hearings for I think a day or so, and they just picked them up I think on Monday. It was interesting. Of course, what's been weird is the DEA has been more or less pro-cannabis but anti-cannabis at the same time, and it's been one of the weirdest things to watch. And also, of course, everybody that was invited is pretty much anti-cannabis too. But what was also weird, I think, was yesterday or today. I think it was the Smart Approach to Marijuana, with those people, Sam. They had an expert who admitted that cannabis does meet the requirements for Schedule 3, even though their personal opinion is cannabis should remain Schedule 1 for other reasons. Now, that's huge, because during, the DEA's, cross-examination is when this came up, and when that finally, was admitted. But then you have the DEA's pharmacologists going and saying something opposite about cannabis too. And so to me, it's just weird, this flip-floppy stuff where you got the DEA, who's been known to be anti-cannabis. Now they're pro-cannabis, but also not pro-cannabis. But then you have Sam, who's anti-cannabis, but their experts that they brought also admits that, well, yeah, cannabis could be, it does meet the requirements for Schedule 3, but even though personally they believe it should remain Schedule 1 for who knows what reason. Now, again, for those listening, this hearing isn't to see if FDA approved or state medical cannabis is Schedule 3 or not. That already happened. This hearing is to make all cannabis within that definition to be Schedule 3. So it won't just be those two things. So those of you that are probably confused, if you're just tuning in, that's the reason why they're having this hearing. It's not for the state and the FDA stuff. That stuff's already happened and that's already approved. This is to see where they want to go with it further. I did see a post from someone from one of the cannabis, news outlets yesterday, post on Twitter saying that Trump was going to create a decriminalization commission. And I think he was going to bring that up in September, or do the executive order for that in September. We'll see what comes for that. I only saw it in one place and one time. I don't know how reliable that information is, but we'll see, because that's kind of huge. What are your thoughts so far on this, hearing and everything all together? Because I didn't ask you before the show or now. I kind of want to know, curious, what are your hopes for this hearing?
Well, I just would like some clarification so I know how to move forward.
Yeah.
As a manufacturer and somebody who is still interested in meeting all the medical requirements, um, I think it's going to be very hard for them. I think it's going to be a very hard road for manufacturers moving forward to kind of follow anything with the DEA and get things that are going to be approved, because they're going to want, I think that'll be the end of outdoor flower for that kind of stuff, because we're not going to have the same type of environments, all of these pharmaceutical places that are going to have to come in, and all of these clinical trials are going to have to happen. We're not going to have our good old sun-grown, products anymore. And so I haven't had a lot of time to really look into the hearing, because I've been dealing with all my medical stuff. But it's like, I hope that we can get clarification soon, so at least we know what to do. As some, that's all I really need to know. And so I, like, what do you guys expect from us? And I know Matt over at Can&M has been trying to like really get some clarification for us, but it's just, I just don't know how they would get all marijuana products to be under that, because they're all not, I don't understand how they would be able to do it.
I don't either. And my personal opinion is I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to keep that separation of Schedule 1 cannabis being the rec adult use, and then Schedule 3 will be the medical FDA stuff. It just doesn't, they did it with hemp. They separated it by definition with hemp already. And now they're doing it with medical. It just makes sense for them to continue this branching off through definition thing, even though I'm a firm believer that they should have put everything together and then kind of figure out how to do it that way, versus saying 0.3% is hemp. And if it's under a state medical thing, it's medical. And now if it's at a dispensary, it's rec, or whatever the route it's going to go in the end. It just creates a lot of confusion. And
it does create confusion.
Yeah, and that's all it's done.
There's a lot of gray areas, especially when you come to like what qualifies as a tincture or a concentrate, or even infused flower. There's so many different things, and there's not enough consideration for all of them too. I think that the FDA doesn't even know where to begin. They should probably hire a stoner.
Right. But that's kind of how I feel on a lot of government levels when it comes to like cannabis and stuff. It's like, you guys should probably hire somebody who knows cannabis or uses cannabis, because they'll probably know a little bit more.
How do you know they're not?
Because the people I see them come in, I'm like, that guy doesn't know anything. So yeah, it'd be great if they kind of hired people within the industry versus people who are from other industries with similar backgrounds, but it's night and day different still. Somebody like when I was in the Army, I was military intelligence. Like coming from that background to cannabis, that's night and day different. Yeah, I can use my people skills to talk to, business people and stuff like that, but it was something totally different that I had to learn. Like, Intel didn't teach me how to grow plants. I had to teach myself how to grow weed. It wasn't, them who taught me how to, wash hash. That was the homies that I work with now, so you have to be able to shift in that way. So definitely, and I do hope there's some clarification that happens more for the businesses too as well. But personally, I do think that they're going to keep the rec stuff, Schedule 1 and everything separated. I kind of feel that this hearing is more procedural than it is anything else. And I could be wrong too. And, they could make all cannabis Schedule 3, which I think will just create a huge shit show if they do that, and just a huge mess. They're going to wreck a lot of the state markets that way.
I think it's going to wreck a lot of the state markets. I think it would ruin a lot of businesses. I know one of the things that was brought up is that you would have to have a 3-month supply available for, your patient. And if you have how many patients in this 3-month supply, well, a 3-month supply, who wants to smoke 3-month-old weed?
Yeah, I know I don't. Especially a patient, especially a sick person and a patient.
They want, fresh stuff. You don't want to, things deteriorate over time. But I also don't think that it's going to even pertain to a plant. In my opinion, it'll probably only go towards like concentrates and edibles and stuff like that. I don't think it'll a cannabis product, if you will, not something that is just like pure plant related, unless it's like they're going to have, and if they do that, it's going to be crazy indoor that is going to be so expensive that nobody's going to be able to afford it. And so there won't be any way to, and there's going to have to be so much separation. Right now, what, people can grow a plant and it could be medical or, recreational, but it's in the heart, it's all depending on the card holder. We would have to have a whole separate grow dedicated for medical. And I just don't think there's enough revenue for that. And then it's going to push out a lot of people out of the market. And then it's going to create a problem with access again.
I agree with you. And we're already improving our access now, barely, like to go back and wreck it even further, is unfortunate. And, who's to say that the businesses that are, in business right now can even afford to become, federally compliant in the first place, because there's going to be more steps that you have to follow, not just the state one now, that's going to cost money. And so, even when it comes to like your grow, if you're an outdoor farmer, your outdoor cannabis is not going to be medical grade. That's been the case for a very long time. I've clarified this with many people before, and I said, is outdoor cannabis considered medical grade? No, absolutely not. With every single person I've talked to, because you can't control variables outside. You can only control them indoor, and so that's the only way that we're going to. Exactly. Yeah, you can't control the bugs. You can't control the dust storms. You can't control any of that when you're outside. Inside, if it's a really great facility, you can pretty much control whatever you want. So that's where we're going to see our medical grade cannabis come from in the future when it comes to this. That's why I've been trying to warn people. I was like, it's not going to be your backyard boogie.
No,
it's not
going to be a lot of work.
Yeah. They're going to be medical grade facilities. Like these are going to be crazier than regular indoor that you see on the rec market. These are going to be very sophisticated, very strict, very clean facilities. You're probably going to see people in whole-on suits, from head to toe, like they work at, Intel chip processing kind of stuff. Like you're dealing with something that's going to be given to sick people, and they want to make sure that it's clean, and that's the way the federal government wants it. So yeah, thank you for that clarification too, because when it comes to the grows and stuff, these guys are going to have a rude awakening, and this this hearing, as procedural as I believe it may be, is saying a lot. And to me, it's seeming like it's going to be at Schedule 1, and especially with the way that it was set up, the way that it's going, the things that they're saying. So we'll see. We have, I think, until next week on the 15th is the last day that they can do it. So we still have more hearing days ahead of us. I'll try to keep you guys updated as much as I can. This is pretty much everything that's happened in the past few days. The public is allowed. I've told you guys that before. The public is allowed, but they're not allowing recording devices, cameras, or anything like that. So if you're going in, pen and paper is the only way that you're going to be recording this. So if you have the means to go, please do, and let us know what's going on, because right now we're at the mercy of the media companies, really, and what their people are putting out. So it'd be great for myself to hear, and I like hearing, I like listening to Supreme Court hearings, because they're audio at least, and I can hear what's going on, and what the arguments are being said, and what exactly was said verbatim, versus this where you got to hope that the person wrote the quote down correctly. So we will see what happens. I don't see much coming from this. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't know what your opinion is on it. But that's my opinion on it.
I hope that is just something that we push back a little bit for. Like, I'm sure there'll be something else that will take over the mind's eye, like something shiny, and then they can leave us alone.
Definitely, maybe something happened on the psilocybin side. They'll leave us alone for a little bit, because they're all for psilocybin, and I'm like, bro, that is crazy.
Each their own, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we can get some I'd like to read that study when they publish it. But I'm ready for it. I'm ready for anything that is natural that could help in creating education. Like if there's a special mushroom that grows off of a tree and anywhere that I could eat and get rid of my cancer, then I'll give it a try.
Yeah, definitely. And it's there for a purpose, of course, but the stigma that it doesn't have that cannabis has just blows my mind all the time. I'm like, that makes you see Jesus and trip balls, but by all means, whatever. These people are getting medicinal cannabis here in New Mexico here soon in the next couple months. So,
yes.
that's pretty much everything I had for this update and everything. There wasn't too much, and with the 4th of July holiday, they did take, I think, Friday and Monday, or no, they took Thursday and I think Friday off. And then resumed on Monday and Tuesday. And so they are hearing right now. I don't know what's being said. So you guys are gonna have to wait till next week to hear the update for that. And I think that'll be the last update on the show. But in between then, make sure you follow my socials. I'll update you guys with everything that I can find that's going on with that if I can. And also I'll be sharing, the Second Star stuff too as well. I think that's really important, especially for the patients. So please, by all means, whenever you guys, share stuff, tag me in it and I'll share it. But do you have anything else before we end for this week?
I appreciate your guys' time and hope that if you or a loved one has ever been touched by, a disease, haven't had access, reach out. We would, the more the merrier. Unfortunately, I wish we didn't have to have something like this, but now that there is, there's no stigma, there's no judgment. We're just here to help.
Definitely. So. And that's a gap that was needing to be filled. And I appreciate y'all for, putting in the work and everything. So this is awesome. And it's a great mission. And thank you so much. And I hope you all learned something today and took something from that. And if you are one of the people that need it, please hit them up. And I will be here next week. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow, whatever you got to do to stay in the know. And we'll be back. All right, y'all. Shoots.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Grassy.